Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Have you heard about this?
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
Yep, you heard that right. But y'all, before we get into it, do not forget to push that subscribe button. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I am excited to get there. But back to this. Y'all, what? This man is saying he wants to stop DEI practices and give restitutions for those people affected by the unfair, racist DEI practices. Yeah. Everything that was gained by Black people during civil rights is being undone. And do y'all see this? Is it just me? I don't want to get too much into my opinion. I'll give my opinion at the end. But y'all, let's get into some of these reactions.
Y'all listen to this.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
So in other words, reparations for white people. Any comments on that, Trump blacks?
Trump has announced that he's going to criminalize diversity and equity initiatives in this country, and he's going to use the Justice Department to sue and go after schools that participate in those practices. Not only that, he says he's going to take money from those schools that are participating in illegal discrimination practices under the guise of equity and give that money to who he calls victims of those illegal discrimination practices under the guise of equity. In other words, he's going to take money for DEI and give it to white kids. Straight up. That's the qualification. Donald Trump might be a moron, but there's one thing that he is smarter than a lot of y'all on, is that he understands that the way to control a country is to go infiltrate the public school system and control the flow of information. What makes you think Donald Trump has good intentions for public school and universities? Why would somebody who is rich and powerful and has no interest in putting their kids in public school have an interest in improving the public school system? Because he's a good guy that loves your kid who he's never met. Everything to Donald Trump is a money-making scheme, including the public school system. And he has a lot of really powerful, really evil people around him convincing him that this is all the right thing to do because they can make money and they can control the flow of information. And they can control who is getting an education and who is not allowed to get it. Not easy to manipulate or easy to manipulate. They know that if they can segregate public school and take away DEI at the university level, that they can segregate our student population. They can change the standards at which we consider a high quality education for white kids versus brown and black kids. They know all of that works. And it's obvious that a lot of y'all just have not even sat down one time to think about the fact that the reason why Donald Trump is going after schools is because he wants to control you, trying to make you think your kid who just happens to be Caucasian is getting an unfair shake just because of the color of their skin. They are planning to sue school districts, sue universities, and sue teachers who don't toe the line. And all of y'all out there preaching small government, no interference in government, send it back to the states. It's all bullshit. He's fed you a bunch of lies because he doesn't want states to control their school systems. He doesn't want states to be able to control what's going on in their universities. He wants to control it all from the federal level. And he's played you like a bunch of fiddles. Convinced you that he's going to send you a bunch of money so you can send your kid to private school and that they'll get all this extra money and attention once DEI is taken away. And now that they don't have to compete with black and brown kids, they're going to have a fair shot at getting into a university that they can afford. Bullshit. It's all bullshit.
If you didn't vote for Trump, you don't even have to listen to this video because it's going to piss you off even more. But I want to know how the other people feel. Just the black ones that voted for him. Trump is considering giving white people reparations. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Because you should have did your research before you voted for him.
Donald Trump has proposed reparations for victims of racial discrimination. I did not misspeak. Donald Trump today has proposed that we should provide some reparations for people that are victims of diversity, equity, and inclusion in American universities. You heard that right. Donald Trump is proposing that any university that dares engage in any sort of equity to make sure that they are trying to identify all the top candidates will be fined, and that money will be used to pay back victims. Listen.
A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies.
Yeah, the fight for reparations due to slavery and Jim Crow, that's been ignored, and Republicans for years have said, no, we cannot do that. But now that there is some unjust policy because schools and universities are trying to level the playing field, now we're ready for reparations. This is going to be a long 4 years.
Explain to you why diversity, equity, and inclusion is not a bad thing and it's not discriminatory. People of color for centuries have been denied positions in the workforce, been rejected from college, and have had less opportunities because they are people of color, even if they're qualified. And those positions and roles have been given to white males. And some of them are even underqualified, more underqualified than the person of color, yet they get the position because they're white. So DEI was meant to battle against that. DEI is meant to be, ensure that employers and colleges are fairly admitting people, qualified people, and not just turning them away because they are disabled or because they're a woman or because they're a person of color or they're a certain religion or ethnicity. And DEI policies also are meant to encourage inclusivity in the school, in the workforce, help people become more tolerant of each other so we can be more unified. But Donald Trump wants to end this. He wants to cut funds to schools that teach that promote DEI. He wants to actually give reparations to white people who he feels are, quote, hurt and discriminated against by DEI policies. This is another ploy by Donald Trump to rile up his base and spread more discord and division. They want to wash over history. They want to whitewash history. They want to try to hide the dirt under America's rug. And we're not going to let them do that, though. But you know what? Take your reparations if you really want them. If you're a white man, you think you need some reparations, take them. But guess what? When that economy comes crashing down from his tax cuts, his mass deportations, and his tariffs, don't come crying to us for some money because you got your reparations from Donald Trump.
I'm just curious if there are any Caucasian people out there who would seriously consider taking reparations from the government because you believe that you or your child was discriminated against by learning history. I know there's the whole debate that Black people currently were not slaves and white people did not own slaves. However, Jim Crow ended about 60 years ago. My parents are old enough to have lived through Jim Crow. Many of our parents are. So why wouldn't their discrimination be rewarded with reparations before you or your child getting their feelings hurt by what occurred in history? I don't know. Somebody explain it to me.
This is for people who look like me. Can we all please just agree that if for some reason we happen to come into possession of one of these restitution checks for the discrimination of DEI training, can we please agree to pass those along to the Black community so that they can have at least a portion of the reparations that they're due? We may not be able to stop the policy altogether, but we could at very least make something positive out of it.
Has Miss Karen spoken? You felt good. You thought you ate. Restitutions and reparations is not the same. Oh my God, get a vocabulary. Bitch, I have cognitive skills that surpass your thought of asking for a fucking manager. You know what I mean? So, my point of my stuff was, if you got a problem with being equitable, you have a problem with equity and inclusion, yet you do Karen shit like this and exert your frail, pale ass into a Black person's conversation, and you want money. Your orange God said you get money for people doing that, like people like me doing that to you. So what I'm saying is, the shoe's on the other foot, bitch. You owe me money, goofy.
And a good evening to you on this Tuesday. I was just watching on IG a clip of President-elect Donald Trump talking about how he was going to make some amendments to education. He said that he was going to stop all of the discrimination in education, that he is going to fine those who break the law, the entitlements, endowments. I can't remember specifically what he said, but for those who have, in his opinion, received federal funding, if they have discriminated against, he didn't quite say who, so I'm assuming white folk, that they're going to be fined those funds, the entirety of what they've been given. So I'm thinking that perhaps it is around affirmative action. So I don't know if this is like a reverse reparations for affirmative action, but I do know that in Project 2025, he made mention that he was going to get rid of the Department of Education. And I'm appalled. I've been appalled ever since he made that promise. But see, America wanted to F around and find out. And that she will do. When you look at the voting, it looks like about 97% of African American women voted for Kamala. And despite what they said about Black men, upwards of 72 or 73% did. What I was very surprised is that white women, Latin American folks, all these people who don't even, some I will say, they're not even in the same tax bracket to make the benefits of voting for him. But now it's getting ready to get real. I am a public school educator and I am a product of public education. I go hard for public education because I know what it can do. I know how it has blessed my life. I know how hard I work to bless the lives of other people's children that I've been given stewardship over. I don't take for granted ever the 185, 190 days that I get to be in the lives of young people. But when you're talking about not funding education, federal funding, we're talking about special education programs. We're talking about giving students who would not otherwise have the opportunity. Like, I think people forget that there was a reason for affirmative action. And there is a great benefit that we see all around the world, that when people of color, Black, Indigenous people of color, were given the same opportunities that their counterparts, their white counterparts, were given, how much those people from the different cultures and races were able to contribute to society. And so the idea that when he said we're going to get back to real education, sir, what do you think has been taking place all this time? I'm just, and said this out loud, like a whole speech. I should tag it at the bottom, but hey, y'all go out and find it. I had to turn it off. The 4 to 5 minute clip that I saw, it was just too much for me. But I had to just jump on for the people who might dare to listen. Like, this is real. This is what America has chosen. And people don't want to say the quiet part out loud. I know people who voted the same way that I did. And there's just this silence, almost an isolation, because we know what the truth is. And there are people who I don't know if there's conversations that take place when I'm not around, but I definitely feel like people look at me and there's a sadness, there's a heaviness, but there's something else. And when you are a person of color, you don't have to say what's already understood. They know why Kamala wasn't chosen. And they also know what lies ahead. And so I encourage you who don't have their heads buried in the sand, especially if you have, well, I can't even say if you have children who are in school, because your property taxes are impacted by the quality of your school districts. To think that there are going to be reverse reparations, that there's going to be some level of restitution made for people who have experienced discrimination in public education. I'm still trying to figure out what world they live in. Because I've taught in 2 different schools, very different schools. I attended a Black college. My high school was predominantly Black, but it was a diverse staff, mostly white, but there was some, powerful African American teachers there. So I would say I have a very diverse view and experience of education. And in all of the situations, I have yet to really see a white person be discriminated in education. I have yet to see really poor education. I've been blessed to be a part of schools where teachers cared, where they were qualified, they told and taught the truth, and they encourage us to be critical thinkers, to question the system. When he said we're getting back to the real education, does that mean we're not going to talk about slavery? Because to this day, I still don't know what tribe I come from in Africa, because my ancestors were ripped away from their homes and brought here. I'm sure there's some things physically that I deal with in my body because I was taken outside of my ancestors were taken outside of their natural habitat, if you will, and brought into a foreign land. It would be nice to be able to say, oh, my family is this. No, I don't know. I don't know. So to give reparations to who and for what? I'm baffled. I'm confused. Somebody made a comment on my post. She was, she put a Bible scripture and was like, I didn't expect to get all this attitude And I commented, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have time for the Christians who want to quote scripture, but don't want to live the real life and judge accordingly. Because God says, what you have done to the least of them, you have done unto me. And when you're talking about education, this is the one thing that it doesn't even level the playing field. But it certainly gives you a chance in hell to make it out in this world. And so the idea that there's going to be some punishment for those who dare to give people who are disenfranchised and oppressed by systemic racism a chance. Yeah, pray on that, saints. Pray on that, saints. And all I can do is encourage you to keep your eyes on the news. Now is not the time to sit back and be like, oh gosh, no. It is time for you to write your representatives. Hold them accountable. If they are voted in office, wear their emails out. I am. Wear them to get that telephone and make them answer you. And let them know that, no, this is not acceptable. Public education has come a long way to let somebody who's uneducated, and I know because he acts uneducated, come and just tear it up. No. Watch, it's going to be like COVID. Y'all going to be begging teachers to come back into the classroom, because I will walk and leave the profession before I'm mandated to teach foolishness. And on that note, toodaloo. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, y'all need to get something through your thick heads, all right? You need to get something through your thick heads. The days of DEI and all kinds of other 3 and 4 letter programs where you get free stuff or you get stuff without earning it, like accepted into colleges, given jobs, all that stuff, it's over. You know, I know you want free stuff. Affirmative action is over. This whole DEI thing was just a flip on affirmative action. All right, the jig is up. It's time to just go to work, put your head down, earn your keep. You want a promotion? Earn it. All right, you want to get into a college? Study. You want to be top honors in college? Study. You want to be top 20% in your schools, high school, college? Put your head down, nose to the grind, get it done. All right? You want a job? Study up on that company, learn as much as you can, have a good interview, impress the interviewer, impress the bosses, maybe kiss a little ass, whatever it takes to get in. That's what you're going to have to do. Because this whole thing of equity, inclusion, diversity, the jig is up. Listen, don't hate the messenger. I'm just giving you a message. The jig is up. Listen, even people of color aren't falling for it anymore. Even people of color are saying that's not going to work anymore. People aren't falling for it. More business owners, more corporations don't believe in it. They were forced into it by bloated HR companies. You got to do this now. You got to do this now. You can't say that now. You can't do this now. You got to say a pronoun. You got to do, you know what? Corporations go, we're done. We're done. We're not falling for it. So, I'm just letting y'all know, don't get mad. Don't kill the messenger.
Have you guys seen that video on Donald Trump wanting to give reparations to white people because they were affected by diversity programs, because they gave grants or programs to help with diversity, inclusion, and equity in schools? He wants to give the people that did not receive those grants reparation money because he's saying that they were affected negatively. I mean, that's the lines as somebody saying, oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, there were so many people of color in that room, so, I should be paid because I had to deal with it. Seriously? Like, this is where we're at? And people still voted for him? He said this on his campaign trail. And people voted for him. What part of these speeches did not get into the mind, the head. People are now regretting that they voted for him. They're like, oh, we didn't think he's going to deport people. Oh, we didn't think that the terrorists affected us. We didn't think we were going to have to pay for them. We've been telling you guys that these were going to affect you. What? You didn't believe us because you're in this cloud. He has you brainwashed. You're in his trance. You need to wake up. A lot of you are going to wake up and you're going to realize that you may have friends and family that are going to be deported. If he deports all the people that he says he wants to deport, your grocery prices are going to go so high. Your fruits and vegetables, they're going to be sitting on the farm. The people that own the farms have already said this is going to happen. It is going to be devastating to our country. A lot of stuff comes from California. They come and they pick people up that are the immigrants. These owners of these places have already tried to hire people that are not immigrants. They've offered them $26, the same amount of money that some of them are making. I think the one owner said 370 people applied. 163 people showed up the first day afterward. And then after the end of the week, nobody showed up. Nobody wants the jobs that immigrants are doing. They're getting up at 4 a.m. They're working 12, 16-hour days. They're not taking away jobs from anybody. That's all a bunch of smoke screens. Just like the terrorists' smoke screens. Their racism, they put smoke screens up. They are literally telling you what they're going to do. They have a list of 10 million people they want to deport. And they want to do denaturalization. Denaturalization means somebody that was born in another country, they became a citizen, they're naturalized, they want to denaturalize those people. That includes people that are married to somebody. Do you not get that? And do you think that they're going to come after the white communities more? No, they're going to come after the Latino community. So you Latinos that voted for him because of grocery prices, your grocery prices are going to go up, and you may have family and friends that are going to get deported. You might even be deported yourself. I don't know what part of that you didn't understand. Not to mention, they're going to take away, they want to take away food from kids. They want to break up the Department of Education. They want to take away the protections for clean air and water. They want to take away your Social Security, veterans' rights. All these programs that are in place in our country, which some of you have been brainwashed into believing are communist, they are socialized programs to help all of us. Your Social Security, get it. Social Security is a socialized program. It is not communism. Some of you did not go to history class. You didn't study. Too bad, you should have. Wow. Oh, what about the price of medication? Price of medication is going to go up. Democrats were putting restrictions on prices, especially like diabetes. It went from $300 to $35. Now they want to rescind all that. And then RFK Jr. is going to be in charge of the health, and he's a nut job. He wants to take away fluoride from the water that's protecting us. And he wants to make vaccinations not available, including like polio. Wow. I'm hoping as an American that none of this stuff happens. I'm hoping that there's enough Republicans, and I think that there may be, who really care about democracy, because they tried to vote on that law so that it would give the president the right to come after nonprofits if he disagreed with them. And in Project 2025, they disagree with the LGBT community and trans communities and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So which nonprofits would they come after? Let me see. The Trevor Project, the LGBT Center, they'd be coming and attacking all of those. Trans rights, nonprofits that help immigrants, families. There's so many. And then they'll come after the arts. But they didn't do it. So that's good. That was a good sign. They voted against it, but it was very narrow margin. That's the only hope that we have right now. Unless something happens between now and January 20th. I mean, they're still recounting votes, so... Oh, boy. I know a lot of you have buyer's remorse right now. But you really should have listened to some of the Democrats. If you were not under his spell and you really listened to what Kamala Harris was proposing, you would realize that she was the only one qualified for the job of President of the United States. Yeah. All right. Well, that's my TED Talk for today. I know most of you on here are actually Democrats, so thank you for listening. Thank you for being there for me. And I appreciate you so much. Hopefully I won't get another community violation because the MAGA are really attacking my page. But if it does, then I just go to another platform or start another page. All right, you guys have a good day. Stay calm. I know I wasn't calm this time. Stay calm and let's stick together. Bye.
Y'all remember when 45, who will soon be 47, said he was going to dismantle the Department of Education? Well, there's a video going around showing that he's going to provide restitution to those families who have been impacted by DEI. Remember all of y'all that said that they couldn't vote for Kamala Harris because she would not give black people reparations? Remember that? And remember how I posted that video that's still up from 4 years ago where the GOP said that they will never give reparations to black people because they themselves never owned slaves? Guess where they about to find reparations for white people from? Oh, it just gets dumber and dumber.
I put my filter back on because my nose is red, my eyes are black. It was a rough night. It's a rough morning. My heart just bleeds for all the things that are coming down that are targeted towards people of color. And nothing else gets me angrier or more emotional to see something like an Instagram post of some of the things that Trump is saying and his community is just applauding it. I don't know anymore if it's just they don't know or they just don't care. I'm going to go with the latter. I'm going to believe they don't care because they knew that their president was a racist. They shouldn't be surprised with the things that he's doing, the things that are coming down the pipeline. They shouldn't be surprised. And to me, that just blows my mind. And that will forever, for me, be the difference between both administrations. You know, while you may not have agreed with Biden's policies, he wasn't gunning for marginalized communities. He wasn't gunning for any community. He wasn't making life harder for white people by taking away programs that may benefit white people. Like, I don't know. And not that they need any more than the color of their skin to succeed in this state. I mean, in this country. But I digress. I'm not trying to make this a racial post, right? It's hard not to, though, with the things that are coming down. I think I'm going to just stop. When someone comes into the comments of any of my posts and they comment, I'm just going to block them. I don't want to hear it. And it defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do in this app, which is simply educate the things that I hear, how I perceive them. I try to be as accurate as I always can sometimes, and I'll be the first one to tell you sometimes I make mistakes. I take a lot of notes and I scribble. Sometimes two things get together and they should be separate, right? I said that Stephen Miller was the author of Project 2025, and he was asked, his organization supported it, not necessarily that he wrote it, so I want to make that change, right? Doesn't change who he is as a human being, because he was asked to work for the Heritage Foundation when he left the Trump administration, by the way. They said that he had a lot to do with the immigration policy, but I wanted to make that correction. What I wanted to talk about next is when Trump, in his own words, said yesterday that he's removing the diversity, equity, and inclusion on all schools. And if a school practices that, they will be penalized. They will be stripped of their funding. Teachers may get fired. And he's going to take a portion of those proceeds to pay white students who feel they were discriminated against.
So really, in totality, what that means is that white people now qualify for reparations, something they didn't give the black community ever. And they never got their 40 acres and a mule. But we're going to give it to white people that feel that we've discriminated against them. And I think I said this in another video, that he calls it the anti-America, but it really is an anti-whiteness campaign. That we won't be able to say anything bad about white people, even when they're discriminating against us, just so that you know. So I wanted to put that out there today. That's all I got so far. I have a lot more, but I'm going to take it easy today. It was a heavy day. Thank you, mi gente. Love you.
I told y'all, but you wouldn't listen. Trump's going to be fining those colleges, with the programs for that DEI. He's going to be finding them now. And you know what he's going to do with the monies? He's going to pay restitution to the victims of the DEI. Y'all know who the victims of the DEI is, don't y'all? Well, it ain't y'all black folks. Ooh, child. Told you. We tried to tell y'all, but y'all kept saying Trump did so much for the black folks. We told you he did not. Well, now he's going to be finding those black colleges and taking the monies and paying restitution to the victims of the DEI program. And y'all all know who the victims are. It ain't you black folks. Heads are hard, people. Heads are hard. Y'all refuse to listen. I don't feel sorry for you. Not at all. I ain't in school, hell. I'm retired. I don't give a damn what happens to y'all now.
I might be the only dude that feels like, reparations, I don't really need them. I don't really need them. Yes, a check would be nice, but honestly, for all the people who really want them things, most of that money would go right back to the rich, just like the COVID money did. Everybody got a check, but you know who got richer? The rich people, because we spent it. We spent it. So reparations wouldn't do anything. I don't really need it. The acknowledgement is everything to me. But honestly, what would be dope? If they were to decide, any one of us, black people, if we wanted to pick any vocation, any schooling, whatever it was, it doesn't have to be a 4-year. If you just want to go into plumbing school, if you want to do, if you want to code, you have to finish the thing. You have to finish, get your certificate, and it'll be paid for. If you drop out for any other reason outside of the death in the family or something wild like that, then you have to pay that bill. But that would be a nice leg up to let everybody get some.
Okay, guys, that's all the clips that I put together for you for this video. Let me know your thoughts. I feel like this is a backward step for black people in general. I think that it is crazy that black people cannot get reparations for anything. We know what we've been through. We know our history, but we cannot get reparations. We can't even get, y'all, we can't even get those laws off the books. What is it? The hanging laws, the lynching laws. We can't even get the lynching laws off the books. But we immediately received an anti-hate law for Asians. And now immediately we're getting reparations for heterosexual white men, right? Who were damaged, who were hurt by DEI, the desire to provide equity to everyone. They were hurt. Immediately they receive restitutions, reparations. What? But Black people, meanwhile, everything that we have gained to try to move us forward so that we are seen as equal is steadily being knocked down. And not only that, Black people themselves, ourselves, are looking at these things as if they're negative, as if it makes us seem less than. Affirmative action was never about someone being unqualified. DEI was never about someone being unqualified and getting the job. That's not it. It was about qualified people not being overlooked. That was it. That was all. But that's my opinion, you all. I don't want to belabor the point and make this any longer than it was. Thank you so much if you watched the end. Please be sure to subscribe, comment. Let's have a conversation about it. Tell me what you think. Until the next time, toodles.